What's up, good people? It is your boy, Bro Troy, aka Mr. YM4C, better known as Coach TJ. And tonight is our first night of our two-part series where we will be discussing all things money. We call it All About the Benjamins. Our guest tonight will be chopping it up on four main topics: living debt-free, gaining business capital, healthy habits with money, and using money as a tool. Now, tonight's show is sponsored by Bigfoot Health and Raleigh Foot and Ankle Center. Shout out to Dr. Kurt Wolfer, owner of Bigfoot Health and a representative of Raleigh Foot and Ankle Center, located at 3801 Wake Forest Road, Suite 100 in Raleigh, North Carolina. Now, fellas, I'm really excited about this upcoming collaboration, man. I don't know if y'all really understand, man. Like, we've done many things in the community. We've served in many ways, bro. And we've talked about this, having an opportunity to mesh fine grooming and linens and fine dining, man. And I'm really excited about it because part one will be on the 27th of this month. Shout out to Reggie Winston over at the barbershop, where we will be doing our fine dining etiquette workshop. And it'll be hosted at the barbershop, where we'll introduce table manners and common courtesies when dining in a group setting or when on a date through interactive role-playing exercises. Now, each one of the young men that will be involved in this will be receiving complimentary grooming services to include a haircut and a manicure. Each young man will be presented with a new suit, complete with shirt, tie, and a pair of socks. Now, the following Tuesday, on the 30th, the young men will be suited and booted, and we will be chauffeured to the Second Empire Tavern in downtown Raleigh. There, they will share driven, facilitated conversation with leaders in education, business, and politics over a 3-course meal. Now, the goal is to mature social development skills, increase confidence in learning new things, and to promote a growth mindset. So I'm really looking forward to that, man. Can't wait. But for those who have never had a Bro Code experience, man, the Bro Code Show is a live talk show created to discuss, uncover, justify, and dismantle the issues that concern us most as brothers, as family, and as a community. And of course, we like to give that to you raw, uncut, and real respectful. Now, our greatest desire is to embrace everyone in positive, popular conversation. So, no, we're not in the business of bashing or belittling anyone, but we do believe in being comfortable with being uncomfortable, because that's where understanding starts. So, as Grandma would say, let's chew the meat and spit out the bone. So, real quick, housekeeping, please go to YM4C TV. That's our YouTube page. Click the notification button, click the subscribe button. So that way, when we go live, you'll know it. You continue to keep up with these meaningful conversations. Also, man, help us build our IG, man. Go to @BroCodeShow so we can build up that IG, man. So with fellas, man, what's happening, bro? Bro Smith, what's good?
Oh, man, I'm feeling good today. Feeling good. Yesterday I got a chance to hit some balls around the I won't say the golf course, but out at Drive Shack. I got a nice little 250-yard swing on one occasion, but it's been a real good weekend.
Okay, I gotta see that one. I'm gonna have to see the playback on that. I don't remember that 250-yarder. But if you say so,
the rest of them went right.
Hey, I believe you would have took a video or a picture of that. I want to see it.
I tried to replicate it, but I decided, I might need to just put the club down and walk away.
That's it. While you're winning, Kirk, what's good, man?
Yeah, I love it. Quit while you're ahead. First time do it. He was looking at the screen for a long time, but I think he said 25. Not 250. But hey, it's all good, man. Listen, I had an amazing time yesterday connecting with you guys as brothers. Man, I missed that so much. And so that I'm still full from just the interaction with the leadership team and the young men. So yeah, man, I'm excited about this conversation tonight too.
Yeah, indeed, man. Indeed. Yesterday was definitely fulfilling, man. Getting to go out there is kind of euphoric. And I think we served about 13, 15 kids, man. We even had a former coach from Central. Shout out to Ken, man, Hinton, man. I appreciate him coming out and really showing those fundamentals. I think all of us learned something yesterday, including the adults as well, man. So you're right, Kurt. We got a great conversation tonight, man. And greatness never happens alone. So let's bring them on, man. Tonight we have this gentleman here. His name is Kevin S. Dick. Kevin was named President and Chief Executive Officer of the Carolina Small Business Development Fund in February of 2020. Now, under the first year of his leadership, the organization responded quickly and aggressively to the needs of small businesses by providing financial assistance to over 1,000 small businesses throughout the state and deploying over 13 million in loans and grant funds. He also assisted over 200 businesses with coaching technical assistance. So I introduce to some and present to others, Mr. Kevin Digg. Kevin, what's good, man? How you feeling?
Bros, I'm feeling good. Happy to be here.
Man.
Opportunity.
Indeed, man. Well, it's good to have you, brother. So we talked about some of the things you do, but I'm just curious, man, for those that don't know, for those that potentially are listening, man, who is Kevin Digg at the core? What makes you you?
You know, this might sound corny, it might sound contrived, but I promise you all, like you said, you want to keep it real, uncut, and something else. You want to keep it real. Okay, I remember. So equity, not equality. There's a difference. Equity drives me. Here's why. You know, equity, particularly within the realm of economic growth and economic development. I mean, you know, and in addition, by the way, to the very, you know, kind of core things about my family. Obviously, I'm very close to my family, wife and daughter, extended family, siblings. They drive me, right? They are a significant part of my core. But in terms of, you know, I guess a value that drives me, it's equity, and equity within this whole construct of economic development, economic growth. This concept of equity is talked about a lot right now, right? So it's talked about under the guise of social justice, and that's valid. It's talked about under the guise of economic justice. That's valid too. I like to talk about it in terms of economic development, because when you start talking about justice and fairness and those concepts, often what you get is a lot of emotion, a lot of, you know, we have a right to have this, or, you know, this is just, or this is unjust. And like I said, all of those things are valid. They're also temporal. You can, I mean, think about all of the movements we've had in this country around issues related to people of color, the issues that are happening right now that are so just unbelievably unfair for Black men and with law enforcement. And think about, you know, all of the things that have happened over the course of history with, you know, lack of access to public facilities, lack of access to capital, and I mean, these are things that can be changed in the courts. People can march in the streets, and things that happen even in the courts can be undone by other courts, right? But one thing that endures is, fellas, and this is really the basis for why you guys are making this a theme tonight, right? And this month, you know, it's all about.
And that's absolutely right. I think you said something really important. I really do. Speaking of capital, and that's one of the reasons why we wanted to bring you guys on the show, man. So we have somebody else, man. He goes by Reginold Jones, but today he's just going to be Reggie right now. Reggie is the Business Solutions Director at the Carolina Small Business Development Fund. Fellas, help me bring to the show Reginold Jones. Reggie, what's going on? How you doing, man?
What's going on, folks at the Bro Code, man? Happy to be here. Happy to be here, man.
Hey, man, Reggie, we talked a little bit about who you are, man, but what makes you you, man? Who is Reggie Jones at the core?
Man, you know, I'm gonna tell you, man. It's for me. It's really about, you know, education. You know, for me, you know, that's business education was my degree. Graduated from East Carolina University. Grew up in Nashville, North Carolina, the best Nashville, not Tennessee, but Nashville, North Carolina. You know, you know, my father, I grew up there. Mother and father in the house, had everything I needed, right? You know, I had Pepsi clothes. I ain't had a Coca-Cola gear like some folks. I had Pepsi clothes. I ain't had Nikes. I had ponies, but you know, they were clean though. So, you know, kind of what puts me, you know, where I am as far as my core, and one thing that I really, you know, kind of you know, look at my father. My father, he was 55 when he had me, so he was old. I've always known him as being an old man. Even the neighbors in the neighborhood would call him Mr. Jones. They ain't never call him by his first name. He's always Mr. Jones to everybody. And, and like I said, we had everything we need. So, my dad was one of those folks that were able to, scrape together some savings and, and had a little bit of the money saved up. My mother was a nurse, so, both parents in the household. But one thing that I realized is that, as much as they were able to save, they could have done more if they would have had that education. And Kevin talks about, equity and these types of things. And a lot of it is just the lack of information and how to process that information and the belief that it can be done. As I'm thankful and I thank God for what my parents were able to do for me and my brother and sister. But at the same time, I look at what they had, and there were so many opportunities that they just passed up on that could have really put us in a different category when it comes to wealth, when it comes to being able to pass something on to the next generations, which is, what we're really all trying to do, build something to pass on to the next generation. So that's where I'm at.
I love it, man. You said something really interesting there too, and we're going to dive into that, man. So shout out to my man, Ryan Ray, man. What's up to you, brother? Much love. So let's jump into the conversation, man. What you got, Bro Smith?
Yeah. So throughout last week, we got an opportunity to talk to some amazing brothers. We even had some special episodes on Monday and Wednesday. If you haven't had a chance, please go back and replay those. But all of them were very invested in people, entrepreneurship, and making an impact. And not just on the corner, but globally. These brothers were bona fide hustlers, starting their own businesses and really learn how to multiply their fruits and those of others tenfold. I am just as excited for the conversations we're going to have today. As you can tell, these brothers already have a lot to say, and I'm itching to crack into it. But before we get too far, I'd be remiss if I didn't acknowledge it's been 1 year since everything shut down. At least here in America, things might have already been a little bit topsy-turvy everywhere else, but it's been 1 year since the pandemic, which continues to impact individuals and families in so many different ways. And while the economy has been able to rebound a bit, many are still feeling the effects of job loss, limited hours, and health and financial hardships. And although 2020 was a year many people would like to forget, there were still important financial takeaways we'd be wise to hold on to. One financial lesson from 2020 is you can't depend solely on just one income. Even though a job gives you financial stability in a sense, having only one source of income in today's world is unfortunately very unstable. And whether you've been at that job for a very long time or not, having one income is close to having no income. Another big lesson learned from 2020 is living within your means. Last year actually gave people a tremendous opportunity to minimize their discretionary spending, such as eating out and going to events because you couldn't. However, living within your means goes deeper than that. It basically means spending less on your lifestyle than you generate in earnings. I'm reading a book right now called The Richest Man in Babylon. One of the tenets, there are many parables which were told by a fictional Babylonian character who became the richest man, but he gave advice on the 7 cures, or how to generate money and wealth, and the 5 laws of gold, how to protect and invest your wealth. And a core part of his advice was all around paying yourself first, living within your means, investing in what you know, and the importance of long-term saving and home ownership. In a nutshell, everything we should be taking heed to now more than ever. And so we're going to dive into some of these concepts because we have some individuals who help support the dreams of many business owners tenfold. And so let's jump right into it. And so, Kevin, I'm curious to learn a little bit more about your background. What started you on your journey of workplace development and capacity building for organizations?
Well, probably remember a show called Family Ties. Y'all remember that show? All right. So in about 8th grade, I decided I was going to be the Black Alex P. Keaton. That was my career, career objective. and set forth in high school, started to prepare myself, took foreign language. I knew I was going to be an international business major. I'm a first generation American. My family is from Trinidad and Tobago, and I'm the first person born here. So I majored in international business at Georgetown. I knew I was going to do something related to international business or marketing. So I'm pretty simple. Like I decided in 8th grade what I was going to do, and I more or less carried that forward into my career. And then until 2 to 3 years in, I decided this is boring, it's not challenging, and I don't want to do it anymore. And I could be doing more to help my community than what I'm doing now. And so a friend brought me an article about something called community and economic development. And I was going to be the Black Alex P. Keaton. I sure didn't know what community and economic development meant, nor cared. But I knew what I was seeing going on in urban communities in the Northeast. I was born in Brooklyn. I grew up in northern New Jersey, so kind of saw that. And I did marketing and sales for 3 years in New Jersey and Delaware, and found that this community and economic development thing is something more kind of germane to me. I told you all earlier, equity drives me. So then I said, well, how does one go about getting into community and economic development, but still being able to make a decent living? Like I didn't want to necessarily abandon lifestyle objectives. I just wanted to do something different to get there. So a couple weeks later, same friend brings me an article that says, if you want to do community and economic development, you need to either get a graduate degree in public administration or urban and regional planning. And urban and regional planning sounded a lot cooler to me. So I said, I'm going to get a master's in urban and regional planning. So did that and ended up getting a grad degree at Florida Atlantic University down in Fort Lauderdale. Yes, I was able to pay attention, going to class 10 minutes from the beach, still figured it out somehow. So did that and actually, so that completely shifted my career in the way of local government. And so I spent the better part of my career over years in 4 local governments in 2 states, in Florida and in North Carolina, and have been fortunate enough to work with the city of Durham, worked there for 10 years, worked for the city of Charlotte for 4 years, and then came back to the Triangle when I had the opportunity for this position. And I think that I've been so blessed to enter and inherit fantastic people and recruit other fantastic people like Reg Jones. But really, the passion about equity really fuels my just joy in this job. My pastor said something very poignant a few months ago. He distinguished between joy and enjoyment, and that you got to experience both, right, to be fulfilled. I'm lucky enough to experience both in such a way that I really don't feel like I go to work, most days. I'm enjoying what I do. So now, see, Reggie will take that back to work and see, this brother's not working. Everybody else is doing the work. No, I actually am doing the work, but it's phenomenal. So that's really, how I got here. And, we're just here for small businesses in North Carolina. Like Reggie said, the education piece with businesses is important, but we do deploy capital. But the whole premise of why we exist is answering the question, how do you get access to the capital? And when you get access to the capital, what do you do responsibly with the capital in order for your business to scale and advance?
Yeah. Well, hold on to that thought. I want to learn a little bit more about Reggie too. But first off, shout out to all my people from North Jersey. I'm in Illtown, East Orange. But
I heard it. I knew it was somewhere around. Look, grew up in Montclair, 5 minutes away from me.
Yeah, I went to Immaculate Conception in Montclair for a little bit of height, but we'll chat on that. But and second off, shout out to Georgetown. They won their first Big East title since 2007. So my man Ewing came in there it did its thing. So much love there.
Time you win something.
Yeah, I said since 2007. I wasn't going to turn that knife a little bit, but Reggie, let's turn it over to you, man. You've earned your broker's license and have worked in finance for a number of years. What is it about that type of work that excites you, and how have you used your experience to help others over the years?
Man, I tell you, man, going back to my dad, he was old man, so everything we did in the house was old man like, right? So always had CNN on, always had about 2 or 3 newspapers sitting on the on the table. So of course, I picked it up and read it. And he was a real smart man. He needed $25 to go to college. He was born in 1916, and he needed $25 to go to college. And so his mother worked for this man cleaning houses. That's what Black women did at that particular time. And went to him and said, was asking to borrow the money, and it was something that you might have seen on The Help or just a movie like that. And he said, well, what, you don't need to go to college. What do you need to go to college for? Just basically, brushed off. So he never got over that, really. He would, some of the conversations he'd have in the household, man, you wouldn't believe, but you wouldn't believe what he's seen over the years. But, I go all the way back to that. And he used to go to Lowe's a lot, Lowe's Home Improvement. So I would go with him to Lowe's, and then I would see Lowe's in the newspaper. I see, with stocks. I learned about stocks watching CNN. So I would see that they were trading stocks, and you could buy ownership in that store. And I would always ask my dad, why don't you buy some Lowe's stock? We go there all the time, but he would never do it. He would never venture out and do that, And I go back to Nashville, and I see how Nashville has changed and how land has been developed and all sorts of things. And he was somebody who could have positioned himself to benefit from that wealth, and he didn't. And so that kind of drove me, really my whole life. That was really impactful to me, because to me, it was about the education. He did not know enough or have access enough or believe that he could participate. And he had, the things he needed to be able to participate in capitalism. It's different when you don't have it and you don't have access to it, but he could have had access to it and he didn't. And, and there's nothing necessarily bad about that, but I wish that he would have, explored it a little bit more. So, you're going all the way back through my career. It's always been about empowering people and letting them know that, it may not be what you think when it comes to accessing capital, when it comes to building wealth. I tell my son and I tell people that I run into that I counsel and I talk to every day. $1 will work for you 7 days a week, 24 hours a day. You can't work harder than $1 does. So employ your dollars, right? Make those dollars work for you, because you can't work harder than $1 works. And conversely, when it comes to debt, and I don't think all debt is bad debt, but when it comes to debt, that debt works 24 hours and 7 days a week, and it makes you work harder. So, in teaching those types of lessons and how, compounding and how if you start, the earlier you start, the more ahead you'll be. Talking about these concepts and working with people on these concepts is something that we need to be hammering into our communities on a daily basis, on a personal level and as far as business. So that's kind of what drives me, man, the education and letting people know what's possible.
So I love that. I think that one thing that I want to say that I noticed already is that you and Kevin, Reggie, you and Kevin have a good relationship. You can see it already. And the relationship is very important. We're talking about money, which in the Black culture is another thing that is something that we never talk about. We just didn't talk about it. So, but we have a relationship with money. You guys just recently hosted the Black Entrepreneur Week, and you were panelists on the access to capital topic. Can you tell us a little bit about what was talked about in that virtual event?
Sure. Yeah. It was a 5-day event, and what we did was we took Monday and made the theme around Monday be related to access to capital. And we started out with sort of a panel led by Black-led financial institutions such as Carolina Small Business Development Fund. We also had a panel later that day that was actually more into the nuts and bolts, some of the different lending products, what you need in order to qualify. That was, I want to say that the morning panel was actually facilitated by a woman a lot of you may be familiar with, Dr. Anita Brown Graham at NC State, the NC Impact program. We had the access to capital session. So let me go back. The first session, Black-led financial institutions, a lot of kind of global perspectives on the flow of capital into Black communities in North Carolina. And that was Carolina Small Business, Piedmont Business Capital, so similar CDFI in Greensboro. Also, M&F Bank was represented on that, as was UP Community Fund down in Charlotte. They're an equity fund. So that's a different product we can talk about a little bit later. Then we had an access to capital about nuts and bolts related to funding from the SBA, related to funding from Carolina Small Business Development Fund. We also had, I want to say, another financial institution, but really getting into the nuts and bolts of how federal, state, and some local and funds through organizations like ours are administered, and the kinds of things you need to be qualified for. And then we had a session that I really liked that was businesses who had received funding from Carolina Small Business Development Fund. So we called that CSBDF to the rescue. And they talked about their stories of their businesses, but also, how capital from Carolina Small Business Development Fund had helped them to become successful long-term, and how they used it. So that was just day one. We had 5 days. We had 329 attendees from throughout the state. And COVID has been tragic for a lot of families, a lot of businesses. In this particular instance, it was a blessing, because we would not have been able to deliver all of this content on a week-long basis and have this much attendance if we hadn't been able to do it virtually. So really phenomenal event.
Good stuff, man. If you're just checking in, you got Bro Troy, Bro Smith, Bro Kirk, Bro Co. We're talking all things money with Kevin Dick and Reggie Jones. So we got a big homie, man, by the name of Genius Jones, man. Shout out to Genius Jones. Last week, fellas, I think he sent in a clip asking about a video question about how much money do you need to be good. And, we danced that around, but I believe he sent us another one, man. So we're going to play this real quick, man. I'd love to hear the thoughts of everyone in the crowd. Please drop your comments in the chat now.
First of all, shout out to my bros at the Bro Code Shop. The stimuli check is now upon us. Why are we so pressed with this $1,300, $1,400, $1,500 check? I think we go to work every day, and we still ain't saving no money. But everyone's excited. Everybody's like, I'm gonna make it rain on these haters. Newsflash. If you were broke before the stimuli, your pockets ain't get no more stimulated. I think we should really focus on not blowing our money every time we get a little bit of money. Savings, IRA, money market accounts, investing in stocks, everything I know nothing about. So my question is, man, we got our check. We got $1,300, $1,400, $1,500, man. Where do we invest it? Where do we put it? How can we make it grow? You know what I'm saying? Not throw it in the club, not make it rain. How can we make our money grow, man? Please help me. I need to know where to put this money. Okay? It's the boy Genius Jones. Okay?
My man, Genius. Shout out to Genius Jones, man. That was hilarious. So not to make it rain, right? What are we going to do with these checks? So, hey, man, there was a time that making it rain was, anyway, that's another conversation. But with that being said, what do we do with these checks, man? What do we do with it, man? So, Kurt, man, what are we doing with the check? Get that 13, 14, 1500, man. What you gonna do with it?
I already got my account set up. I'm about to buy some more stocks. So,
Yeah,
one of the biggest things, Troy, that I shifted in doing in the last couple of years was if I wanted to enjoy my money and buy something important, I had to earn it first by doubling the money. Then I'll use the money, but not before.
Real talk on that, man. Like, for real. Matter of fact, I think we had something to say just that. Never spend your money before you've earned it. Now, it speaks directly to what you just spoke of, man. Jay, I already know what you're going to say. That 14 got to bring me 20. So,
I'll say this much. The first 1,200 stimulus bill last April corresponded with a huge run in the cryptocurrency and stock markets.
Yeah.
To where if you would put it all into the Bitcoin, for example, even at prices, I think last I checked was close to 57, 58. That would have been a return of close to 760%. And even if you would have missed out on that in December, if you would have put 600 into Bitcoin, you'd probably be close to a 95% of your return there. Now, I say that when you throw it out with caution, to get those same sort of returns, it would need to hit like 100, 800, 10,000. So, I mean, like any investment, it can also lose. But out of the number of things you can invest your money to, you can also save, pay off debt, invest in properties, things. There are a whole bunch of things you could do.
Well, fellas, I'm curious, man. I don't know if there's anything different, man. But what you think, Kev? I mean, what's your thoughts?
I mean, absolutely right. And a lot of what Bro Kirk and Bro Smith talked about was personal finance. But I think as it relates to small businesses, during the pandemic, there were some small businesses that had to take capital they received and literally pay off, past due bills. They had to offset expenses that they missed because, if you were a restaurant or a barbershop and you basically had to shut down or nearly shut down, you lost a lot of revenue. We heard a story from one restaurant that's one of our clients, like, hey, I need help. I've made $500 in 3 days. 3 days, right? And they have a loan obligation with us. So, but there were instances too where you had some businesses in certain industries who were able to take capital and parlay it like what was just suggested. They were able to buy more equipment. They were able to do things that enabled them to scale or enabled them to be more in position to get contracts with large private sector and public sector organizations. So it is all about, to the best extent possible, not spending it. Well, with the debt we're going to talk about, I'm going to give a little caveat to that. Yes, generally you don't want to spend money until you earn it. But like Reggie said earlier, don't be afraid of low-cost debt because there's some debt products out there that are as close to free money as you'll get. And you have to kind of weigh what the projections are for business growth versus what you'll have to pay back over time. And if you can find loan products that have really low interest rates, which is not uncommon now, especially if you have decent credit, and have long payback periods, 10 years, 30 years. Some of the SBA products are 2.75% interest with 30-year paybacks. That's like free. That's as close to free money as you'll get. So you can't be so afraid of debt that you don't look into products like that, where you can get grants. That's great. Equity, where people are investing in your business, but they might want an ownership stake too. So sometimes people hear equity and they're like, oh, I don't have to pay that back. That's not debt. Yeah, but somebody can take your business.
You said something interesting there, Kev, man. You touched on this thing called credit. And when we talk about credit, man, some of us have made some really unfavorable decisions, both personally, but now when you involve business, this is a whole nother lens. And we want to talk about how those things potentially go hand in hand, but we want to take a real quick commercial break. We got to pay the bills. We'll be right back. And you're back with the Bro Code. It's your boy, Bro Troy, Bro Kirk, Bro Smith, and we're talking all things money. It's all about the Benjamins. Right before the break, we were talking about credit, man. What you got, Bro Kirk?
Absolutely. Thank you for that. So credit, we know, can be a tool if used properly. Reggie, can you talk to us about the difference between personal credit and business credit when we talk about tools?
Well, what's interesting, Bro Kirk, is that a lot of times when you're doing analysis and you're trying to assess a business and their ability to repay, one of the things that we're looking at is we're looking at the principals, we're looking at the owners of that business. So as a part of that, we're analyzing and we're looking at that personal credit because, again, we talk about decisions, some good, some bad. We know that can kind of help us with that subjective measure of how you're going to handle your finances. Generally, if you've run upon some hard times and you tend to consistently run upon hard times, that could impact how we look at your business, right? Because you're the owner of that business. So you're the decision maker. So if you're making decisions that aren't the best personally, there's a possibility that you'll make those same decisions as a business. So when you're thinking about, the difference, there's not a lot of difference. I spent, part of my career in banking, I spent as an underwriter. And one of the things that you would want to see when it comes to analyzing a credit is you'd want to take a look at that personal credit and the payments associated with that relative to the amount of revenue that your business pays you, right? The net income, after you pay all your operating expenses, after you pay everything, how much is left? And how much is that relative to the monthly debt that you're paying? That's what one would call a global debt service. So we're looking at the whole deal globally and seeing if that business makes enough revenue to cover its business expenses and cover you personally. So personal credit has it's a strong determining factor on if you're going to get business credit or not.
I want to dive a little bit deeper on that last comment. As far what do you mean by personal credit being the big determining factor? What is the type of credit that you would look for in terms of establishing that business credit? And I guess just to add on to that, how do you build that business credit once you have it?
Right. Well, so we're talking about, business credit. So, you have credit cards, you have lines of credit, that may come as overdraft protection, where, you can, if you write a check and you don't have enough cash, sometimes you can have a line of credit that is attached to that checking account and it will automatically advance funds to cover checks that, you may write and that may overdraw your account. Mm-hmm. So you have those types of credit, and they're very similar to what you have on the personal side. So on the business side, you also have what you maybe trade credit. So trade accounts. So let's say you have a baker, a bakery, and they have a line of credit or a account established with U.S. Foods to get their raw materials to make cupcakes, right? What U.S. Foods may say is, okay, we'll give you net 30 to pay. So we'll give you 30 days to take those materials, make your cakes, generate some revenue, and then pay us back for that. We'll give you 30 days to do that. So that's like what's called a trade account. And that's kind of what we would, is more of a non-traditional line of credit, but that's an additional business credit that, a lot of underwriters may take a look at. Now, when it comes to establishing, business credit, again, it's a matter of being able to make sure before you apply for business credit that at least you've addressed any issues on your personal credit, right? That's the first thing that you're going to want to do. Address those issues. If you have open or you have small collections, everybody's been there, whether it's been medical or whether it's been an unpaid credit card debt or something like that. Go ahead and either make arrangements to pay, get it in writing, or go ahead and get those things paid off. But go ahead and address those things, so when you are applying for credit, you'll be able to say that, yeah, I had a couple of bumps in the road, but I've taken on the responsibility of establishing the relationships to repay these debt, repay these things I own, and now I've faced that responsibility, and now I'm ready for business credit. So you have to address that personal credit as a part of obtaining business credit.
No, that's good to know. Kevin, I don't know if you have anything to add. One of the questions I'm curious about is, I have a business and I have a credit card with a bank, but they're asking me for all of my personal information, my social security. So I don't even know if I have business credit or it's just a credit card that happens to be in my business name. And so if that is the case, how do I go about establishing true business credit indifferent to just a personal checking account under my business name?
Well, the first thing I want to say is that, related to what Reggie said, there is, especially in acquiring capital, acquiring debt capital, there's always a link between your personal credit and your business credit. So a lot of times, and that linkage is solidified by the fact that a personal guarantee is ordinarily going to be required by any bank or financial institution you would go to, even for a business loan. They're going to want anyone, at least folks who own 20% or more of the business, to have a personal guarantee. In other words, if the business, they can go after your personal account if your business can't pay back. As far as how you would establish business credit, it's just very critical. Or I guess basically you're purchasing or leasing or doing things in your business name where it would be allowed. So, for example, if you lease a vehicle for your business, that would be a pull on your business credit. And that would enable you to really establish some, because, it's a monthly payment, a monthly obligation. Also, to Reggie's point, getting things like trade accounts established in your business name. And a lot of that is also related to scaling, right? So one, you want your business to expand. And this is something that, especially within communities of color, largely, well, I'm not going to say largely, but in part because we've never had any options, because access to capital, debt capital, has always been unavailable to us. But a stigma has been established in communities of color, like, I cannot go after debt. I can only, I'm only going to pay out what I've earned. And if you're trying to start or grow a business, it's very hard to do it just based upon personal equity. There's not too many businesses that are legal that you can run solely on a cash basis. So you've got to acquire debt. And again, it's strengthening, like Reggie said, it's strengthening your personal credit so that you can get debt at a cheaper rate. It's not that all debt is bad debt. In fact, when you can, you have some good financial advice that is enabling you to understand your cash flows. In other words, how can the forecasting of how much money I'm going to make in future months or years, and then you weigh that against the debt payments. That debt might be necessary for you to acquire the assets, capital, equipment, the resources in order to grow your business. And like Reggie said, global debt service, as long as the expenses are coming within what you earn in revenue, you still can be in good shape. And really, it's generally necessary. Debt in some form, shape, or fashion, line of credit, just straight, term loan, fixed rate loans, all of these kinds of things are necessary. But hopefully, Bro Smith, that answered your question.
It did. Thank you.
Good stuff, man. Good stuff. So if you're checking in, we're talking all things money. It's all about the Benjamins. And we want to have a little fun, man. We got Kev, We got Reg. We're talking about business credit, personal credit, the difference, how can you establish it, and make sure that we're doing things the right way. But we want to go into our segment. It's called Guess That Entrepreneur. So since we're talking about all things entrepreneur, we're going to have some fun with it. So we encourage the crowd. It's going to be multiple choice. So you got a 33% chance of getting it right. We're going to go with A, B, and C. We're going to bring the question up, man. We're going to go around the horn. Let's see who wins this one. So I'm not playing because I know the questions. But this one says, we'll go with this one first. It says, in the 15 years, some of the most successful entrepreneurs started their brands young. Now, who has been reported to be on track to be the world's youngest self-made billionaire from her global cosmetics company? Is it A, Kylie Jenner, B, Rihanna, or C, Selena Gomez? So A, Kylie Jenner, B, Rihanna, or C, Selena Gomez. So I'm gonna start with you, Kirk. You look like you got it over there, man. Who you going? You going with A, B, or C?
I want to roll with Rihanna because it's Rihanna, but it's Kylie Jenner. Gotta be.
Okay. What you think, Bro Smith?
I second that notion. I'm gonna go with A.
Okay. What about yourself, Kev? Kev, we got a mute monster. What you got, Kev? I got you.
Okay, yeah. I put A in the chat.
Oh, you did? Oh, see, my bad. What you got, Reg? Is it unanimous?
Yeah. Oh man, yeah, it's got to be unanimous. Yeah, it's unanimous.
You're right. It is A. It's Kylie.
Yeah.
That was a little too easy, but that's good to know, right? So
yeah, it's good stuff.
Let's go to this one, right? So what this one says, as a multi-billionaire, we all know today of Roy Kroc, right? He worked at Ray Kroc, excuse me. He worked at McDonald's for a summer and studied their automation system. His global online marketplace uses similar models of efficiency and speed. Who is he? Bill Gates, Jeff Bezos, or Richard Branson? You already, Kev, you in the chat with B? What you think, Kurt?
In the chat with B.
Okay, what you got, Kurt?
I agree with Kevin. Definitely B.
What you got, Reg?
I'm going with B.
And I assume, Bro Smith, you going with B too?
I'm afraid not to. Let's do B.
Who else would it be, right? If Ryan says B too. Ryan, you got the first one right too. It was A, Doc. So let's see. I think we got one more, fellas. Let's see if I can find it. So speaking of McDonald's, Ray Kroc, the founder of McDonald's, was famously denied a permit for franchise location in which family favorite vacation location? Was it A, Central Park? Was it B, Disneyland? Or C, Mount Rushmore? So feel free to use the chat. Who we got? Somebody dropped. Reggie and Kevin say B. What you got, Kurt?
I'll be honest, I don't know. But I'll tell you this. I'm not going to say because I don't want to be wrong.
Okay. What you got, JC?
Hey, these guys look pretty smart. I'm going to stick with them on B.
Yeah, they sharpen B out.
Well, you know what's so funny, man?
That was
a great guess. That was a great guess. B was, hold on, there's somebody else. We got A, Central Park, B, Disneyland, or C, Mount Rushmore. Now, I thought it was B too, because it just kind of made sense. It was like, all right, man. But no, it was actually C, Mount Rushmore. So they went to Mount Rushmore. Don't get me the line about what year it was, but they went to Mount Rushmore and they were like, nah, we don't want Mickey D's. That just kind of blows your mind. Who doesn't want the golden arches, right? But yeah,
federal government though. It's federal government. I don't know. I would have thought Disney, since it was, they privately owned, they like, nah, everything Disney. We're not letting anything close to us in recognition and marketing standpoint come into our business. So
yeah. You let me down, Reggie. I only went with B because of you, man.
I know I let you down, man. Golly, man. I'm trying. The hour's almost over too, man. I'm trying not to let y'all down.
Yeah, man. We all got it wrong that time. But yeah, you figure about it though, Reggie. Mount Rushmore, it's not like they have like toys and figurines. So you would think that McDonald's, hey, food, nah. They like, no, we don't want anything to do with that. So yeah, pretty mind blowing. Kurt, what you got, bro?
Absolutely. So sticking with Ray Kroc for a minute, watching the movie Founders, he had this amazing quote in the kitchen as he was talking to his wife, and she wanted him to settle from his purpose and his dream of building McDonald's into what we all see it is today. And he said simply, "Why should I settle when other men won't?" That's always stuck with me when we go into mindset. And so that was an aha moment for me. Kevin, what is an aha moment for you when we talk about business and finances and things like that? And Reggie, I'm going to ask you the same question as soon as he's done.
Aha moment. That's tough, man. I guess one was that a good one I learned this weekend. I expected a lot of local government revenue, which, by the way, is heavily driven always by sales taxes. I've been hearing lately that a lot of, state government, local governments are doing a lot better than what they expected in terms of revenue projections that were coming from sales taxes, right? Because I'm figuring all of these Main Street, mom and pop businesses, restaurants, personal services like barbershops, salons, they did poorly. Sales taxes are going to be way down. They're up in a lot of instances. And I said, well, how could that be? And it was like, online sales. North Carolina had a lot of people didn't like this a few years ago. Is saving state and local economy now. They passed a law to tax online sales, right? And if not for that, look, the state has $5 billion in unspent revenue. I'm not talking about money that's coming in from the package Biden signed this week. I'm talking about general fund dollars, money that is generated in and through the state. They got $5 billion in revenue, unspent. They're in good shape, even in COVID, because everybody's been sitting at home ordering Amazon. From our answer B a few minutes ago, fattening his pockets, Jeff Bezos. So, that was my aha moment. Like the power of online commerce. It's unbelievable with everybody home.
Appreciate that. Reggie, what do you want to chime in when we talk about aha moments?
Man, I'm going to tell you what was truly an aha moment for me. And it may not be, like I said, but part of, in my years in banking, I spent as an underwriter approving credits. And I had the opportunity to work for USDA. And then when I finished working for USDA, I went into commercial bank to work in the SBA 7A program. And mind you, at this time, I probably had been about maybe, I've been close. I was about 15. I was north of 15 years in banking at the time. When I found out that there were loan programs out there for businesses that you could use, and you do not have to necessarily have collateral in order to buy those businesses. You're buying goodwill. You're buying a quote unquote book of business that has no physical value to it. When I found out that you're able to finance those businesses, it was an aha moment for me, because now I see how, you don't necessarily have to have a physical asset to touch to be able to transfer it to somebody and have generational wealth. The SBA 7A program really opened my eyes, because it opened my eyes to the possibility of somebody being able to grow a business, be able to build a name in the community, be able to build goodwill, and then somebody who's interested in that business can finance the goodwill, not the equipment that isn't, the business might be worth may have a value of $3 million, but it may have only $200,000 in physical value of equipment, of things that you can touch. But the goodwill, the book of business, the clients, it might be worth $3 million. And somebody will go to SBA or go to a bank and participate in the SBA program and be able to buy that business. So when you're talking about generational wealth and be able to transfer assets, and you think about the time you start as a business owner and you grow that business, what you're trying to get to, what is your exit strategy? It's not selling your toaster, and you're selling your name, you're selling your reputation, and that means something. And so that was truly an aha moment for me, because I didn't realize I'd spent time in banking and I really didn't make the connection that was possible.
Well, there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Kevin Dick and Reggie Jones from the Carolina Small Business Development Fund. Join us next week as we continue this all about the Benjamins conversation. Our guest next week will talk about eliminating debt and using money as a tool. We'll have my main man, DJ Rodriguez from @DebtFree2020. DJ is a debt eliminator. Him and his wife have paid off over $140,000 worth of debt over the last 6 years. And now he shares that formula through his debt-free workshops. We also have Mr. Jarrell Moten. Jarrell is a financial analyst with Fidelity Investments and is also a certified accountant and owner of the Financial Shack INC. So please set your alarm, Siri, Alexa, Google Home, all for next Sunday, March 21st, 6 p.m. live on Facebook at YM4C TV and also on YouTube, Facebook at YM4C and YouTube at YM4C TV. To our guests, man, we always appreciate you guys, man. Thank you again for making it a dope night. To my brothers and everybody that listen, we certainly appreciate y'all, man. So we always want to leave you guys on a positive. And I think this quote right here is so fitting to fit the night, man. I don't know who wrote it. Well, no, I do. I'm just playing. But anyway, nonetheless, man, it's not how much money you make, but how much money you keep, how hard it works for you, and how many generations you keep it for. It's your boy, Bro Troy, a.k.a. Mr. YM4C, but better known as Coach TJ, and we are the Bro Code.